Hello everyone, Solo here. Sorry if I'll sound a bit sick in this video, but I'll try to be as much clear as possible. So, and today I'm going to show you how I level my witch character. Hopefully that can be useful to someone, or at least be used as a blueprint if you need some insight about the path to take when leveling. I'll try to give you a clear plan of the whole leveling process. It took me very few hours with that setup, like 5 to 6 hours at most, to get all the way through the campaign, and I'm pretty slow myself during leveling. I'm going to attach in the video description the PoB of the build I used, update for every single act, which will include items and passive tree progression. It is important to note I'm leveling this as not my first character, so if you have some currency like I had, it will make your leveling way easier and faster. In particular, after Act 4, we will slap our source of damage to Impending Doom, provided by the Doedre Scorn helmet, and some cows will be needed to buy those pieces. So, without wasting more time, as you can see, we are going through Act 1 very quickly, taking Blight as our first skill, and as soon as we can, Frostblink and Contagion. Once we manage to do that, I like to do my side quest before going into the next dawn, so we do the side quest, Tidal Highland and the Flooded Depth, so we can get access to the Quicksilver Flask. Then we can access the ledge and go through Act 1 without going back to town any other times. We go through Act 1, kill Brutus and keep moving. Alright. As soon as you get access to Soulrend, you can take it, because when we unlock a level 12, we are going to use it as our main source of clear, together with Contagion. And then eventually keep Blight just for bosses. Now we can access Act 2, and in Act 2 is going to be basically just like Act 1 in terms of passive 3 points, skill and that kind of stuff. If you manage to get a wand or scepter in these early acts, just pick one with spell damage, chaos damage over time multiplier, or generic damage over time multiplier. Anything that scale our dots is great here. For bandits, just follow whatever the PoB recommended for your final version of the build. I kill all of them basically every single time. There is nothing particular fancy around Act 2, which should be quite short. I like to take Arctic Armor as my first aura, just for the early freeze immunity and the little damage reduction. Also, it will be useful later. And remember to use Blight as your main source of damage versus bosses, if you feel like your Soulrend and Contagion is a bit slow on single target. So, around Act 3, probably at the beginning of Act 3, we start getting what I think are the most useful Grafts to enhance our damage in this and future acts. The first one I suggest you to take, if it's possible for you, is the one which had the skill Return to Dust, which basically solves on its own all the problems related to single target damage, dropping these massive purple arms from the ground that slams your enemies. The second graft is one with Falling Crystal spell, and it basically procs periodically, hitting enemies with cold damage. Remember to keep your Arctic Armor active to chill enemies. That hit you. It's very helpful to support your clear in these early acts and enhance the falling crystals. Both of these crafts are automatic and we don't have to cast those skills ourselves, so great. And I personally didn't upgrade them for the rest of the campaign, but it's very useful when you are struggling with damage or clear to level up this craft, and therefore the skill provided by them. Then we move our way all through Act 3. As you can see, the only real difference here is that we add shield charge, support by momentum, and a faster attack if you already can. Movement through Act is going to be very fast from this moment. These are only real changes here, and again I recommend checking the progression in terms of passive 3 and item in the PoB link I'll drop in the description. Once we do for Act 3, we can access Act 4, which is probably the last act that we play at sort of slow pace, because by the end of this act we can swap to the very last level inside that will stay with us till the end of the campaign. We go into Camps of Stronghold, and after that the Crystal Vein and the Rest of Dream. Once we clear those areas, as you can see, up to this moment skill are basically unchanged. Now at this point we can do the big swap by equipping, if we can, Vixen Entrapment and the mandatory helmet Doedre's Tenor. Most importantly, most specifically, the Foulborn Doedre Scorn helmet. This new version of Doedre's helmet allows us to get a level 30 Impending Doom support already in Act 4, which will completely carry out our damage till the end of the campaign. The mandatory item, the only truly mandatory item, as I was telling you, is the helmet, and you can already check in the description which skills are going to be equipped here in the helmet. But to be short, because this is probably the most common question about this setup, let me explain very quickly how Impending Doom works. When a curse on a target ends or gets removed, like in our case, it triggers the Impending Doom damage. So we have to be careful to set up our maximum number of curses on the same target. The first +1 to maximum curses come from the Vixen Entrapment Gloves, so we just have to look for one more sources of maximum curses, which we take from the passive tree. So that our helmet can keep removing and reapplying curses and constantly trigger the Impending Doom damage when we try to apply our curse again. In the PoB, in the description I made a lot of other adjustment to the build in terms of items, because I didn't want to change any items till the end of the campaign, and all of them can be considered very comfortable to have, but not necessary. So if this is not your first character, definitely think about getting those items, even if you can do the setup just with the helmet itself. Also, if you don't want to get the Vixen Entrapment Gloves, even if they are actually very cheap at the moment, there exists another version of the build which simply socket Cursed Ground inside the helmet instead of another generic support gem. So we get access to the med damage of Impending Doom just by moving the Cursed Ground under and away from our targets. That's something you can do if you really don't want to buy Vixen. It's a nice alternative. By the end of Act 4, you shouldn't feel the need to massively enhance your defense, because they should be easily sustained by Mind Over Matter, which will split damage you receive between your life and mana, and your mana is protected by Energy Shield at this point of the campaign. So this shouldn't be a problem at all, and you shouldn't feel the need to solve any special defensive issues. I level till the end of the campaign with just those items. Remember to check the PoB link in the description so you get the idea of how I progressed the passive tree and the items, which I basically didn't change after Act 4. Now we are at the end of Act 7, and as you probably noticed, I didn't rush any ascendancy early on. You can absolutely level without ascending into any witch subclass at the beginning. Since I already knew what I want to do with this character, I decided to ascend as an Occultist, which works very well with the items I'm using at the moment, and is probably the easiest choice for you as well if you just want to copy the setup. By the end of Act 7, we also performed the first two Labyrinth Ascension as Occultist. I took the 2 points which you can see here in the PoB in the description. As you can see, the map bosses and campaign bosses are not a problem with this setup. The campaign just go through without any real risk, and finally Acts 9 and 10 are going to be done in something like 30-40 minutes combined at most. Alright, I think that's enough. That's the setup I found to be very useful, and one of the fastest leveling I ever had after Act 4. And thanks to the new Foulborn version of the Doedre Scorn helmet, which allow us to get a level 13 Impending Doom just by Act 4. And to do that swap, you just need to be level 39. Guys, I hope this blueprint can be useful for someone, give some hints to those of you who can plan to level a witch, and why not maybe give you an idea for a character you can keep playing even after the campaign with a more min-max setup. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what and how I can improve in this kind of leveling blueprint. Thanks again a lot for watching. Remember to support the channel, it means a lot for me. I wish you a great day.